Today's video is based on my recent post where I did the Lazy Girl method, now known as the Femi Beauty method. And coincidentally, the instructions for that nail art were exactly the Lazy Girl method. Well, I mean, they didn't call it that, of course. In that video, I used Polygel with enhanced colors, so this is a clip. And here's the thumbnail for anyone who hasn't seen it. And you'll see I still have these nails on to give you an update, so a quick backstory while I set up. In that video, I shared my perspective about Polygel in comparison to why I favor acrylic. I like Polygel, so don't get me wrong, but in my opinion, and this is constructive based on product characteristic as it pertains to color. When it comes to strong pigmented color, for me, acrylic is the front runner. While Polygel, because it's a gel, tends to have more of that jellyish, transparent property, and it's all good too. But what I wanted to try here was to bring out the color more in the Polygel, to enhance it, so to speak. Also in that video, I shared some information in case you're new or learning. Polygel is actually a mix of gel and acrylic, hence what is also known as Acrygel. And let me also clarify. We aren't creating a custom color here, we're just enhancing the color of the Polygel. So you saw I matched the Polygel color with an acrylic powder. And I wanted to do something bright, so I chose pink. So with all that said, we're ready to try this. And a quick update first. The video for these nails were posted 1 week ago, but they were done before that, so I've had them on about a week and a half with no signs of lifting. I did add gems to the middle finger, but this is especially for any concerns about curing. So just a couple of more things that I did pull out. I got this spoon. You guys saw this before in one of my videos, and I don't think the spoon has anything to do with nails. I believe this came out of one of those tiny little espresso type coffee sets, I think. But I just love it, so I keep it with my nail stuff. And then also, I decided to do this on, well, with a full coverage nail as well as a dual form, and I'm just trying to make sure I get it up close and personal for anyone learning. Okay, so we're gonna do one in each just for the sake of seeing how well they both cure. I picked the full coverage nail because remember when I did these, in this one I did base coat inside before I put the Polygel, and in this nail I didn't, and I said that I would give you an update, and as you can see they're both holding up nicely. The concern for that was if you didn't use base coat, would the full coverage nail actually lift off? Because I believe that was a problem, or that was an issue with some people from what I've heard before. So as you could see, it's not lifting at all with or without the base coat as the first layer inside of the nail, unless it's a gel tip. These were not gel nails. This was an acrylic full coverage tip. So what I'm going to do is start by placing an amount of Polygel inside my dish. And I'm just going to do a little because I don't know how much, like when I'll be using this. And yeah, guys, I'm trying to keep from like explaining brands because this is not about brands. So I'm keeping it faced away from you in case you thought I was doing something shady. And actually, while I'm doing this, let me just explain too that when I did that yellow color, it was done quite some time ago. And so that has, I finally just used it. I believe I did that like, maybe last summer. So it's been a while since I did it. What you want to do is just start with small amounts. So as you could see, let me turn around so you could see how much I've used. And I know I'm probably going to need, actually, let me just put more than that. Okay, guys, I was being a little chintzy, but I put more in there. And it should be enough to use for both of those, the full coverage nail as well as the nail form. And one of the things that I do want to say is the acrylic powder that you use, it should be a finely milled powder. Don't try your best not to select the ones that are a little grainier or like the acrylic powders that have things mixed in it. You want to use a solid color
So I'm just going to do a little bit at a time, which is what I'd suggest, because you can't extract after you do. Although you could add more polygel, you know, to balance out what you're trying to do. And if you make too much, you can always use it for like repairs. Like, for instance, if you have a crack, you know, your nail cracks or something like that, and you just mix. It's just that simple. Use a similar color acrylic powder with your polygel and just blend really, really nice. The other thing that this does is it also, for those polygels that tend to be a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Those polygels that tend to be a little more softer and stickier, adding the acrylic will also firm it more and make it. And I think I'm like wanting to add just a little more. And see here, it did, I don't know if you could tell the difference. And while I was mixing this and also downloading from the camera, I also got into mind to remember to do a swatch of the original polygel without anything mixed in it. So the first mix that I did, probably about 1/4 an amount of powder, and I think this is all that I'm gonna mix in more. You just do it to your liking and just continue to mix, but just make sure you mix thoroughly. And what you're looking for is, let me get it up close. See, I'm gonna wait till it focuses. When you put the powder in, you could see like the graininess of the powder. You want to mix until that polygel becomes shiny all over again. So you could see some graininess in there, and you just want to mix. One thing that I did discover after I did this yellow for the first time was to wait a while, because you do what happens is the powder also needs time to dissolve into the polygel, if that makes sense. So what you want to do is you want to create this, and you don't want to use it right away. So you want to plan ahead doing something like this. You want to create it and see how it's starting to get shiny. That means the powder is dissolving in there. And let me get that tube to see if I can make a comparison between the two right now before curing. What did I do with it? So I'm just playing with it, and you'll need something very sturdy because this gets pretty stiff. So you can still see, although it's mixing, you could still see, I don't know if the camera, yeah, you can. You could see some of the graininess from the powder, and you want that to dissolve in there, and you want the gel itself to become shiny. So let's compare that color, because this acrylic powder is actually brighter than the polygel color, I think. So let's do a comparison. Yeah, you could see it's 3 different colors, guys. Isn't that something? So you got the acrylic powder, which is a bright. I'm trying not to touch anything because I don't want to get sticky. The acrylic powder is super bright. If that falls, I could just let it fall in there. And it's brighter than the polygel, so you could see what's happening. In fact, I'll just mix it in there. And I know this is getting to be a little sloppy for me, but we don't have a plan here. I didn't have measurements from before, like I said, because it was done so long ago. And all I did was I just kept adding to my satisfaction. And I just didn't over add to where it became like a... I didn't over add to where it became too stiff. I think this is a really good consistency right here. I'm liking this consistency. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it and let it sit for a little while. It does have to set in. Like I said, the powder does have to dissolve. Okay, so I'm going to set this off to the side here, and I can blend in more if I choose to. But what I wanted to do was I got another dual form, that I want to put the original color Polygel in, just for comparison's sake. I'm just going to put a small amount in, and I'm going to spread it and cure that. And then we'll take it out of the dual form so we could see it as an enhancement. A brush. And it's clumsy with these gloves on, right? Things are so clumsy with these gloves on, guys. And you know, this thing with my finger, I meant to mention before that this has nothing to do with any form of contact dermatitis, because this actually started before. This is something that's been happening with my fingers since before I started my channel and getting back into the nail stuff. I used to be at work wearing a band-aid at the tip of my finger. Just turn that around. I should have put it on a stand, but this was a spontaneous thought to make that comparison. I don't know why I didn't have that in mind before, but I think this is enough, right? That's enough. Just get that spread out. Okay, we'll cure that while we're waiting for this to kind of settle in. And I also think that it's not just the Polygel that also surfaced. That came to mind too. It's not just a Polygel. I think oftentimes when we apply base coat, which works very well to spread the Polygel and keep the brush from sticking, the base coat has a tendency to the base coat has a tendency to thin the Polygel out as well, in my opinion. So that's the color of the original Polygel. And as I'm going along, more things are coming to mind. This could even be an easier way to create custom colors, so you don't have to use the same color, pink to pink. You could probably add like a yellow to pink and create an orange or a shade of orange or something like that. So this is just experimenting and having fun. Okay, and then next I'm going to do it with the mix of acrylic in this dual form. Look at that color, guys. Look at it in comparison to the original color. Much brighter. And see what I was talking about? You want to wait until it gets shiny because you want that acrylic powder to dissolve in there. And I'm going to give it another mix. Always remember to do that too before you use it. So a quick mix, and it's looking good. I like this color. It's like it went into like a Barbie pink, right? I'm just gonna go from here. I could still see a little bit of graininess, but we'll see if it cures, because that's the whole purpose of this, to make certain that with the mix that you create that it is going to cure properly. And for this, I am not using base coat I'm not using base coat to work this Polygel. I'm going to use, because I want to do them all the same. I didn't use base coat with that. So I'm not going to, it's not going to stick right now. So I'm just going to use my fingers. I just won't go all the way to the top because it's not going on a finger. And this may be too much because you should put it on not so thick. So I'll remove it when I get to the tip end, to the free edge. Also, sometimes there's not enough Polygel here at the part where it would be on your nail bed. You should not go too thick, but there should be enough in there where there's not any visible gaps in the color. So I'll work it just a little bit more. And again, this is not going on a nail, so we're just doing this for color's sake. It does look brighter. Can you tell? If you could tell, put that in the comments, guys. If you could tell the difference in the color. But this especially for like that neon yellow, because neons have that tendency too. Let's not just talk about regular colors, but neons definitely have that tendency to look a little thinned out, right? One thing I did want to remember to mention too, This was cured for 90 seconds, and then more time is added once you put the acrylic in. And before I take this out, you can see the difference in color right here. As you could see, that was a tapping for earlier for anybody learning this. It does cure all the way through, just in case there's a concern. Now, when I did these nails, I did not shiny the underside, but because this is a polygel acrylic mix, well, I don't know if it's necessarily because of that, but I don't know. I guess I would shiny the underside. So let's take this out the dual form, and it's coming out nice, guys. Look at that there. You can clearly see a difference in how much more solid the color looks. Let me lift them both. You can see a difference. It may not be an extreme difference, but you could see that it even looks more brilliant and more solid. This has, you could see the jelly look to this one, and this with the acrylic added. Okay, and then we're going to do one inside the nail form as if we're doing a lazy girl method. Because I think Femi Beauty's method, lazy girl method, for anyone new, they're the same. She named it differently later. I love Femi. I'm feeling that the lazy girl Femi Beauty method is still very, very popular because it's so easy to do. And, you know, kudos to her for coming up with this. Okay, so we're ready to cure this. And did I mention that I typically cure because of the acrylic blend in it now? I do cure it for longer. 90 seconds for the regular polygel by itself, but once I add the acrylic in, about 120, possibly more, depending on what you added. And remember to always cure it from top and beneath. I'm just wondering if you could see it differently like this. You can. This one is darker. It may be subtle, but still you could tell the difference in the color. I would use this to do a set of nails. I love how this turned out. But remember to cure it for a little longer. So this is what it would look like if you did a dual form and took the dual form off, right? Looks good, doesn't it? And then this one, I'm going to flip it. So this is how it looks cured from underneath. Did it cure all the way through? Yes. So let me make sure I show that it did cure all the way through as well. Just like an acrylic nail, guys. But one thing I do want to point out too is, because this is a polygel mix, and I said something about shining the underside, you do want to wipe this down after you cure it, because it's a mixture of acrylic and polygel. It's still considered a polygel. You got to clear that inhibition layer off from it. So, and then let me shift this more over to I'm having a hard time with the nails on, guys. When I did these, I didn't have nails for a long time, so why would I go and do this length right off the bat, right? I put this over here on the light side from where the light is shining better so you could see. I think that was the way that it was turned, right? So you could actually see how much more pigmented, you know, how much more solid the color is in these two. So Femi Beauty method, this one has the full coverage nail over it, and it's as if you would take it and put it on your nail. This is a dual form where you created it inside the dual form, and the dual form comes off, and then you have your nail enhancement, and this is from a dual form as well, so you could see the difference in the color. Now maybe to some of you guys it looks the same, but I can clearly see the difference, and I can see the difference in camera as well. So that's how I did these nails, guys. That's why that yellow doesn't look translucent. So that was the reason why I thought to do this. And on top of the fact that I had seen, I guess you consider them viral videos, you know, where I've seen quite a few people try it as well. And I wanted to do it to see how it would turn out for myself too. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. I hope you enjoyed it.
Give it a try. I'm sure you'll like how the color comes out too. In fact, I'm considering doing this again, even if I might not record it, but using different colors since I realized it could be done for creating custom blends as well. For me, I just like how the color comes out more pronounced and pigmented, closer to an acrylic look, especially without the hassle of using monomer, which affects so many of you. And if you did like this, you might also enjoy the one I did about not wasting any more polygel, or the video this was based on by clicking here. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll know the next time I upload. Thank you for spending your time with me today, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Much love.